show me your weakness. We're in this together now. We're in this together now. Give me your love and tell me your secrets. 'Cause we're in this together now. Yeah, we're in this together now. No, 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 no. I'll keep you safe, I'll give you my everything. Even if we're falling down, even if we're falling down, all of me is yours, every part of me. 'Cause we're in this together now. You and me together now. What's the point of living if we're scared to lose each other? What's the point of living without you? Tell me now and I'll stop fighting. Tell me now and I'll stop breathing. I don't want to be here without you. Without you. Without you. Without you. Without you. No, 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 no. I'll be your light, I'll keep you from darkness. Even when the sun don't shine, even when the sun don't shine. Give me your strength and show me your weakness. 'Cause we're in this together now. You and me together now. What's the point of living if we're scared to lose each other? What's the point of living without you? Tell me now and I'll stop fighting. Tell me now and I'll stop breathing. I don't want to be here without you. Without you. Without you. Without you. Welcome everyone, back for our usual show. Seeing a stack of you have already come in. Let me just quit that. That video was shot with the Sony A9 and the Tamron 28-75. So just in case if you are interested, that's what it was shot with. It's a great combination. It's one of my favorite combos for video. Now we are only in pre-show, guys. If you don't want to watch all of this pre-show stuff, just skip. I will put a timeline down below. So you can skip to the stories that you're after. I mean, there's not heaps of stories today, but we've got a few interesting ones. So, you know, bear with me while we're going through those. But I just wanted to sort of say hi to everyone. So let me flick over to here. So let's just see who's in the house. I had to laugh because Aaron has just said he's pre-ordered the A5 already. Aaron has got the inside goss on it because he's already pre-ordered it. It's not available yet, but Aaron somehow has pre-ordered it. So g'day, Aaron. Prasant's here. Brett is saying the A5 is not even a real camera yet. I love it. Dana, I was just talking to Aaron. Greg said the A5 is a starter camera, Aaron. What would you do with it? Well, if Aaron's in the chat still, he might be able to tell us, or I might be able to talk about it with him next week. Why is my watch going off? I thought I put it on quiet. On Wednesday or Tuesday when we have our live show. Dana said, are you watching the tropical storm? So they've got another tropical storm up there. Boy, they've always got the tropical storms or earthquakes. Rob has also said, hi folks. Brett said, laugh out loud. Greg said, so are you bringing this webinar to us with the new Image Edge web cam software? I'm going to talk about that. Greg, I've got an itchy nose this morning. I think it's hay fever. No, because it's only available on PC at this stage. So it's not available on Mac. Everything I've got runs on Macs. So it's not available for us at this stage. Carl said it's time. Sizzle Man. Kevin is also saying, hey all. Mark's also saying hi. Leslie said, hi David, and all from Croydon. Michael said, hello all. Mix said, hello all. Hey David. Wesley said, Barbados is in the house. Steve Wags here as well. Who else have we got? Jeff Sayer is saying hello from San Diego. Mixmill said Davenport, Iowa, reporting in. Articulating screen. No, it's meant to have an articulating screen on this new Sony camera. I'm going to talk about that as the first story today, though. Henry's saying hi. Henry's also saying, shame this new Sony webcam application is not available for Mac. I know, and I've got the same problem, like I can't try. But, well, I'll wait till I talk about the story, but there's implications with it as well that I'll talk about. Henry's saying hi from the UK. John said, hello from Bloomington. Brett said, hi, Santa, laugh out loud. I love it. It's not, like, why do people keep saying it's great? It's blonde. Obviously, all of you need to get your color calibration software out on your computers, guys, because this is blonde. I look sexy, actually. I love it. What else have we got? Michael said, I just read on Sony's website about the new Image Edge webcam software. It's only for Windows 10 64-bit on my Mac OS, yeah. It'll come. They've said that. We just got to wait for it to come out. John said, hello from Bloomington. Chantel. Chantel saying hi, Granddad Osler. Chantel's my daughter-in-law. Hi, Chantel. How you going? Fergal says, hi from Stormy Island. Alex said hello as well. Greg said, that's the same issue I have, all Mac. Yeah, it's a problem if you've got the Macs, I suppose. Well, I suppose Sony have done the right thing. I mean, they've added it to the biggest marketplace, which is Windows. I mean, there's more Windows computers than Macs out there, so I suppose they've gone for that first. And then they'll have to look after the Mac side because remember, for photography and multimedia and things like that, the Mac is very, very strong. So they're going to have to support it. And they've said that it will be coming out. They just haven't given us a date yet. Brett said, I've tested it. It doesn't work. Oh, really, Brett? Which camera did you use it with? Alex said, good afternoon all. Listening while washing my car and drinking some White Claws. Wow. Well, we're nearly into spring here, so I'll be back on the alcohol soon. I'll be back on the Coronas with you guys. As soon as it starts warming up, I'll be back on them with you. At the moment, I'm drinking Milo. Remember the old TV commercials? Hi, I'm a Mac. Yep. Ronald said, another from Barbados in the house. Tim said, hi all, looking forward to trying out the Sony webcam option. P.S. Your beard is platinum. Platinum, you think? Do you think it makes me look distinguished? I'm trying to make myself look intelligent. I love it. I've got more hair here than on the top of my head. I must admit, guys, though, I am enjoying not shaving, though. Like, I just get the trimmer out. I bought a trimmer yesterday and trimmed it off a little bit because it was getting quite bushy. So I've just trimmed it off, and I quite liked it. Like, I just go over. It's quick now. Just shave the head with the razor and then just go over with a trimmer and done. So I like it. I asked Kerry, I said, Kerry, do you hate it? Because I'll take it off. And she said, no, I like it. So, yeah. Now, let me take these off. I don't need them on anymore. What else? Langston's here. G'day, Langston. How are you? Rob said there may be more Windows computers overall, but within the editing creative community, yeah, there is, and that's exactly right. Macs are very, very strong in the creative side. Very, very strong. So they will support it. Let's hope it works better than the Sony driver, though, which can be a pain to install. Brett said, well, it doesn't work on Skype, but I hear it works on Zoom. Oh, okay. He said he's tested it on the A7 III. Hero said, greetings, coffee dudes. I swear that's how they decide what platform first. Someone with importance either likes Windows or Mac. Yeah, who knows, Langston? I mean, it does get frustrating, but what do you do? But I'll talk about that when we get into the stories, because there's probably implications as well. Well, like Brett's already found one. He's saying that it doesn't work with Skype, but it works with Zoom. So there's going to be issues, and then, who knows? Might be driver issues. Langston said, DJ, I love Apple. So does Aperture. I don't think anyone liked Windows anymore. It depends, but it's certainly very strong on the creative side. I know that, and it's always been strong on the creative side. That's for sure. All right, so let's get stuck in and start the show. So let me do that now. I'm just going to put show starts at 10:57. Oh, where are we? 10:50. It'll be it's 11 by the time I get it in there. 11. Oh, that'll do. All right, so let's get stuck into it. Welcome everyone, back for our usual weekly show, Sony Alpha News and Rumours. So we're going to go through a few things today. There's not much news actually at this stage, but I've been looking at a lot of videos. I've been looking at a lot of reviews of the A7S III, things like that. The Sigma 85 1.4. I've been looking at quite a few reviews of that, so I can give some opinions about that as well. In the live chat, just ask away questions and I'll come back between sort of the stories and have a look at what's going on there. Excuse me. The other thing too is if you don't want to watch all the stories, you can go to the timeline down below, which will, show that as well. So it'll show where we're up to. Let me just, I can move that later. So what we're going to do, we're going to start off. G'day, Jim. How are you? Too good to see you in here. So let's start off with the first story. So let me just put in the time here. So we're going to go look at the Sony A5. So 13. Oh. All right, so let's look at that first. So Sony Rumours have put in this rumour about the Sony A5. Now, there's a few things I'll look at. They're saying it's going to be a body that's based on, I suppose it's the A6600. But the rumours now are that it's going to have a fully articulating screen like the A7S III and will be marketed for vloggers. It sort of makes sense to me in a way, but before I start talking about that, let's have a look down here and see what they're saying is in the specs of this. So you can sort of see here how it compares. The A7 III is on this side, and I suppose this would be what they're saying that it's going to look like on the other side. Now it is full frame though, so it's not APS-C, even though they're saying it's going to be in a small body. I think it's going to be full frame. I don't think they've mentioned that anywhere, but I believe it's going to be a full frame. I'll have to check that down below. But let's look at the specs. What they're saying it will be. They're saying we have now been told that the Sony A5 or the A6, we don't know what it's going to be called yet, camera will have a fully articulating screen like the A7S III. The camera will be marketed for vloggers and YouTubers. Now, they're saying it's going to be announced in mid-September. So what are we, probably 3 weeks away before this is announced? It's going to be a new entry-level full frame. Yeah, so it is full frame. Could be named Sony A5 or Sony A6. It has the same screen as the A7S III, fully articulating screen. The camera will be marketed for vloggers and YouTubers. Battery is the MPF Z100. It's USB Type-C. It has a single card slot, so that sort of puts it out for professional use for things like weddings and things like that. Also, it has both a mic in and a headphone jack, and it's got Wi-Fi 11, A, B, G, N, AC, and Bluetooth. They're also saying down here that the new body design is similar to the A5000, A6000 series. It looks more like it's the A6600 series type cameras because that has the Z battery. It'll be mixed metal and plastic. The grip is pretty large to accommodate the battery. They're saying it's going to have 5 frames per second, IBIS, no pop-up flash. But I'm hoping that there'll be an EVF that's on this because I think it's, I don't know, I mean, I wouldn't be very happy if it doesn't have an EVF. But I suppose if they're marketing this at vloggers and YouTubers, they may not be marketing this at photographers. So let's see anyway what they sort of put in it. They're saying there is a pop-up EVF with a 770,000 pixel LCD EVF, so it's not very high resolution though. Also touchscreen like the A7S III, records 4K 24 10-bit, 100 megabits per second, 4K 30 10-bit, 100 megabits per second, and it may even have 50 to 60p 4K. But is really crippled, they told me. No audio, cropped, and works only in S&Q mode. So this is, I suppose, how they force you to get a more high-end camera, which will be like the A7 IV or the A7S III. So they are going to give you 4K 60, or it looks like they may give you 4K 50, 60. It's going to be crippled, no audio. It's going to be cropped, probably with quite a major crop. And it is also going to only work in S&Q mode, which is a bit weird. But Mark said a rangefinder full frame. Yeah, so it is a bit strange. I noticed Aaron said that he was pre-ordered it already, so I think it definitely interests Aaron. So I suppose that they're saying it's going to be marketed to vloggers, but there's a couple of interesting things about this that puts them now with 2 cameras, because you've got the ZV-1, which is also marketed to vloggers, but I suppose this isn't a full frame camera. You can't change your lenses and things like that. So it probably, I'd love to know what you guys think too. Is this something you'd be interested in? I wouldn't personally get this. I would just get the A7 IV because I still think the A7 IV is going to have the articulating screen. It's going to have the dual card slots. It'll probably have full 4K 60. It won't have all the video features that the A7S has, the A7S III, but it's going to have a lot more. So I suppose as an entry-level type camera, if you wanted to go full frame, you wanted to, say, use some nice lenses, it could be a great camera that's a step up from the ZV-1. But it's going to be interesting to see where they price this camera, because I'm not sure where they will price it. What are you thinking, around $1,000? Is that what you're thinking this probably could be priced around? What's the ZV-1 is, what, about 750, I think, US. So if you're jumping up from that, say, another $250, $300, you can then move up to full frame. So it's an interesting concept. I'm just not sure how much it's going to sell, because I'm just trying to think that the A7 III, if the A7 IV comes out, are Sony going to keep the A7 III in? Well, then where would they price the A7 III? How much lower would this camera be than, say, the A7 III? But then, oh, Jim, the black hole has collapsed. The light globe's gone in it. I went to turn it on this morning and the light globe's gone. So I suppose the thing with this is, if they're marketing it totally at vloggers, it makes complete sense. That it's got the fold-out screen, you've got the 4K 60 if you needed it, even though it's in S&Q mode. We don't know how crippled it is. $1,000 can't go wrong, I suppose. I mean, it's either you'd either want it or you wouldn't. I mean, I personally think I'd probably prefer to carry this around if I was doing vlogging, because I'm really happy with how this looks. And it's nice and small for a vlogging type camera. I suppose the if this is the exact same size as the A6 600, I don't mind vlogging with my A6 400, so it probably is a nice solution as well. It's almost pocketable, depending on what lens that you put on there. What do you think? I mean, okay. I mean, it doesn't really worry me that this is coming out. I think, obviously, the way this is probably going to be targeted, this is going to be Sony's cheapest full-frame camera. Then you'll have the A7 III as a step up from that. Obviously, you've got the dual card slots and everything else that has. It hasn't got the articulating screen, though. Then, if you wanted to go more into video, you jump up to the A7S III. So it's certainly an interesting concept. But I'm hoping, I still do believe that we're going to get the A7 IV before Christmas. I still think once this is announced in September, you probably then come out, a few weeks later. It still gives us plenty of time for them to announce an A7 IV before the end of the year, because I'm still predicting that's probably what they're going to do. Like Carl said, sounds like a good deal. Yeah, I think so too, Carl. I mean, for $1,000 to get a full-frame camera, like I said, it's not aimed at professional use. It only has the one card slot, but for vloggers, if you're traveling, etc., I think just having the one card slot is fine. Interesting. I'm not going to get it though. I mean, I don't think it's going to be a camera that I will be getting. I'd certainly be getting the A7S III or the A7 IV before I got this camera. So let me just log over and just see what people are saying, because I'm just curious to see what people are saying about it. This will excite some people. I mean, I know a lot of people that already have the lenses, etc. as well. If you want to get in cheaply, the great part is you can get in cheaply to this and then jump up to a more high-ended Sony full-frame camera. So it does make total sense. And they do have to compete with, say, the Z5 and other cameras that are being announced at this lower end. So it does make sense. Where were we? Let me just come back up here. I'm just laughing at people calling me Santa. Tim said looking out for trying the webcam options. Yeah, I'm going to talk about that in the next story, actually, Tim. So I'll go through those in a minute. Rob said there may be more Windows computers overall, but within... I also said that before, yep. Well, it doesn't work on Skype, but I hear it works on Zoom. Yeah, that was pretty... I mentioned that before. I swear that's how they decide which platform first. Someone with importance either likes Windows or Mac. Let me scroll down because that was all talking about that. See, Elise and Aaron said, Sony A5, take my money. So it really appeals to them. Like I said, there's some people that this really will appeal to them. Do you think the new A5 camera will have the MPFZ? I do think, yes, it will have the same as the A7 III, etc. I think that's going to be the new battery that they'll have all the way through now. So I think you'll find that will be with all of them. So hi, Elise and Aaron. How are you going? It's better. It'd be better be full frame. Yep, it is. Sony A5, take my money. Perfect B cam. Yeah, well, it would be. It would be a really good B cam. Mark said, yep, I pointed all that out in my live show last Sunday with the A5. Hero said, where are we? I heard it will have a pop-up EVF, but who knows? Yeah, it may, because... remember, it might be like the RX cameras that have the pop-up EVF. If it is definitely targeted as a say, and they're saying it here, marketed for vloggers and YouTubers, it may not have an EVF. If they're not targeting this at photographers, I don't think there's an issue about it not having an EVF as much, because most people would be using that articulating screen. So it may not be a problem. So it's interesting. So there may not be an EVF in this. They are saying that it's got a low res one though in the specs that I just showed you a second ago. Rob said the A5 A6 is a solution in search of a problem. Jim's talking about my black hole at the back there. Yeah, the globe just went. I just got a donation. Thank you so much. Let me just go down. Bawani, thank you so much. He just said, what's up? Gave me $5. Thank you so much, mate. How have you been over there? What else? Mark said also a rangefinder full frame. Most probably an RX1 update. And that could be what they're thinking, Mark. Yeah, maybe the RX1 update. Because the RX1, it was funny, like it never really sold that much. Like it was a bit of a bizarre camera, really expensive, really. Great if you're traveling and stuff like that for an all-in-one camera, but it sort of was never really did very, very well. So this could be that replacement for that camera. Yeah, maybe. Langston said, depending on how good that 4K is, it could be a decent B cam. And it could be, exactly. We don't know, how well it's going to work. I'd say it's probably the same sensor that's in the A7 III or something like that. Well, it hasn't been mentioned yet. So it's going to be interesting. But they are limiting it at 5 frames per second and stuff and things like that. But remember, they have to push this down to try and force you to go up to the next camera. They're not going to give you everything in this camera, which is their entry-level camera. Otherwise, you wouldn't buy the A7 IV. Brett said the A7 III, A7 IV won't be the base entry anymore. Yep. Jim said he just wants a global shutter. Sounds like a good deal for $1,000. Yeah, I'm thinking it probably will be around about $1,000. Rob said I was going to order an A5. I would be heading to my local Audi dealer. Yeah, true. If the 24 can match the A7S III 24p, I'm in. It might be a good travel camera if it's weather sealed and the price is right. I'm just trying to see down here what else are people saying. Waiting for the A7 IV, Julian. The A7 IV makes much more sense for me. I mean, look, the order I probably will go is I probably will get the A7S III first, and then next year sometime I'll probably get the A7 IV. I think that's probably how I will go. I'm just sort of waiting at this stage to see what happens. But I have got the 2 A7 IIIs. Kerry uses one and I use one. So I could, in theory, sell one A7 III and replace it with one of those cameras. So we'll just have to see what I do in that regard. But I am really curious, like whether to wait and see what the A7 IV has. And that probably will also meet my needs as more of a fusion type camera, because it will obviously do better photos. When I say better photos, you'll have more resolution. So that's one thing if you're sort of thinking about waiting between, say, getting an A7S III or the A7 IV. I think, though, I'm more getting into video. Like, I mean, I do more and more of that sort of stuff that you saw at the beginning where I showed Matisse dancing. I'm more and more getting into that. So the A7S III is sort of exciting me more and more and more. The more reviews I see about it, the more that camera is enticing me, and I'm closer and closer to pushing the trigger, on it. So I'll see what happens, but I'm more and more leaning towards getting the A7S III, and then when the A7 IV is announced, which I still believe will be sometime this year, I could probably sell one of my A7 IIIs and then purchase that. So I'll just see what I want to do, or I might even just sell one of my A7 IIIs and purchase the A7S III. Mark said the now old RX1 has a good 42 megapixel foundation for a full frame rangefinder. The price of it killed the sales, yeah. Because what is it, about 4,000 Australian? I think it's expensive, that camera. I still have the more versatile cameras for slow-mo. I would get this camera just to have a Sony in my bag again. Oh. Prashant's saying it'll cost at least $1,400. Ooh. Evan said, David Osa, Sony just released the webcam utility. Yeah, I'm going to talk about that. This is the next story, Evans. Gene said, could pair it permanently with a Tamron 17 to 28. I'm also going to talk about that because there's another rumor about a Tamron lens today, which is interesting, and I want to talk about that. Alicia Darren says it will be light as a micro four third camera. And see, this could be the really interesting thing. For a travel type camera, I love taking my A6400 on travel. I love taking that with me for traveling. So this could be a brilliant travel camera. Yeah, it could be. You have until December to put a lot of weight on so you can be Santa. Greg said, it leaves room for the A7 IV in major improvements. Yeah, like I said, it does. And you're exactly right, Brett, that 4K 60, remember they're saying this one is going to be heavily cropped, only shoot in S&Q mode. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a time limit on it. The A7 IV will definitely, I would certainly say it will have full-on 4K 60. I'm not sure about the bit depth. It may go, say, 150, 200. It's not going to give you those really high bit depths that the A7S III gives you, or, you know, those other unbelievable sort of formats that the A7S III gives you. So it'll be more the fusion camera, the A7 IV, but it'll be a much better stills for camera. So it'll be different. So this would give you that nice stepping stone from, say, just coming into Sony, having the lenses that you're going to buy, and then move up to something like the A7 IV as your next camera. So I think this will be placed right at the beginning. The A7 III, I think they'll still probably have that camera, will be next in line. Then it will jump to the A7 IV, and then you'll go to the A7R4. I mean, we still have the A7 III as well, R3 as well. So there's certainly a lot of brands there. Whether they're going to sort of think about just for the manufacturing side of this to get rid of some of the other cameras, I'm not sure. I don't know how long they can keep so many cameras in it, and it may confuse the marketplace as well. You know, like people will be thinking, well, which one should I get? So it's going to be interesting to see how people go with all of this. Alex said, definitely not for me. I'm a landscape photographer and I'm totally happy with my A7R4 and the amazing quality. Yep. I mean, if you are landscape, obviously you need the resolution. Thank you so much, Brandy, for that donation. Nice to see you in here. Chilling, just working on my company. He said. Richard said, I tried the Sony webcam app with the Sony A7 III. It looks okay, but it looks more like 15 to 20 frames per second. And I'll talk about that in a minute, Richard, as the next story, actually. A7 III sensor is now 5 years old. It's still a really good sensor, though, Carl. Mark said, are you listening to what David is getting, Kerry? Hide the cards. I love it. Yeah, I'll have to do it in secret if I do it. Where is the A7 IV? Well, I'm hoping we hear about that before the end of the year. David, do you think these Sony lenses after sales, they will go full frame? Do you think it is the Sony lenses after sales, they will go full frame? Are you saying they'll get rid of APS-C lenses, Leslie? Is that what you're saying there? I'm not quite sure. I bet this entry-level A5 will have the new Sony menu. Yeah, I think it will. There's a couple of things now that I think you'll find that you'll get in every single camera now that's going to come out. I think you're going to get the articulating screen now. That's going to become default. The new menu system will be default in every single camera that comes out now. I wouldn't be surprised. This may not have that, but I would expect every other camera that comes out to take the CF Express A type cards, you know, the dual system, because Sony is going to want to sell those cards. So I think any new camera that comes out is going to have that. So they're going to be the norm with things now that are going to be in it. So I think you'll find that will be all their new cameras now are going to have that as standard. It'll have the same touch screen, etc. And that's about it. All right, so let's go on to the next story anyway, because I want to talk about this new webcam software. What are we on? 32. 50. So I noticed this morning that Sony have unveiled this new webcam software. It's free. But I think they've done this because, what was it? I think Canon were bringing it out. Fuji were talking about bringing out free webcam type software. Obviously, you use the USB-C out of your camera into the computer. Turns it basically into a functional webcam, eliminating the need for a capture card, which I'll talk about in a second. And they're saying now they're just keeping up with, say, Canon, Fuji, Olympus, Panasonic, and Nikon in that order, actually, released this webcam software. It's a dedicated app back in July. And it's called Imaging Edge Webcam for Windows 10. So it's got to be Windows 10. And I think it has to be the 64-bit version, which probably is Windows 10. I don't know much about Windows because, like I said, I'm Mac with everything. It's a free utility that lets you use 35 of its cameras as webcam over USB. And they're saying supported cameras include basically everything. I mean, if you're looking, there's a whole list. I'll put the list down below. So if you're interested in the software, I'll put it down below. There's a whole list here of all the cameras that's supported, and it is very, very extensive. Might be a great option for something like, you know, the ZV-1 if you're traveling and you just wanted to travel light and then plug it into your laptop and use it as a webcam. That could be a great option. So it does cover an awful lot of cameras that are there. I'm just trying to see if it says it is only Windows, but they are saying there'll be a Mac version available, but they're not saying when. They're just saying it here with no mention about if or when a Mac version will be on the way. I think Sony Alpha said that there was going to be a Mac version, but there was no updates on it. We've reached out to Sony to comment, and they'll post back later. So it's there. But look, you've got to understand that there will be compromises if you use this against, say, using a dedicated capture card. You'll be limited in your frames per second, or you should. It's like, who was it? I think someone said before. Richard said it was only 15 to 20 frames per second. It may also, like give you that buffering or something like. I think it'll have trouble keeping up with the software as well. It just won't get in quick enough. So there's going to be compromises if you want to use this. Rather than, say, using a dedicated capture card. You will get a way better look if you use a full capture card for this. Now, I'm using the ATM Mini here, but there's a whole stack of other cards. I mean, I'm using also Camlink as well. There's other capture cards that I've got as well that I use. So you will get a much better result if you use a capture card system rather than shooting this with USB-C directly into your camera. It's a problem with throughput. It just can't keep up as well. So, and that's why they're saying there that you're only getting 15 to 20 frames per second. You may get better than that, but you might find it'll slow up, slow down. It's going to be nowhere near the quality like what you're getting, like what I'm producing now, which is going through a dedicated card, which does that transcoding for you. The problem with this is it's going to mean that your computer has to do the transcoding. So it will never work as good as, say, using, you know, a full-on card system to do this, but good on Sony for releasing it. At least it's out there now. If you wanted to, say, like I said, travel light, or you haven't got those capture cards with you, as long as you have the USB-C lead, you'd be able to stream. So I mean, it's great. Like I said, I can't even test it because I haven't got Windows, but good on Sony for putting it out. Hopefully there'll be a Mac version out soon, so at least I can give it a go. But it's not something I would use particularly for the way that I'm doing my work. I would probably always use something like, you know, I mean, the Camlink is really, really small. That's tiny. I'd probably use something like that as a way of getting the capture into the computer. But in a pinch, it's reasonable, and at least it's there. I'm going to keep going because I've got a few stories that I want to go through. Next story is the Eye autofocus. I wanted to talk about this with you. 37:30. There's some interesting things that I've seen online lately, and I've talked about this with you guys before. This was a Jared Poland one, I think, that I watched. It had a Canon EOS R5, I think. There was the Sony A7. I'm just trying to remember which Sony camera it was. I can't remember. And there was a Nikon as well. It might have been the Z7 or something, or Z6. But it's interesting. I've seen this a lot now in the reviews that are out there when they're showing the autofocus between the Canon and the Sony. Not so much the Nikon, but definitely between the Canon and the Sony. What I've found is that the autofocus now is so close with Canon and Sony that it no longer matters anymore. Nikon is a fraction behind from what I've seen in the reviews. Not a lot. It's still incredibly useful, and it's very good, in fact. But I think Canon and Sony definitely are sort of above what Nikon or anyone else is producing out there at the moment. I still think the focus overall is probably better in the Sony if you're talking about the focus for everything overall. But if you're talking about the IAF, Canon have done incredible leaps and bounds in the latest, particularly the R5 and the R6, way better than the EOS R, and it's really good. Yeah, Dana, Fuji is quite good as well. I think Sony is just probably about the best there was, but I have used the Fuji when I've sort of tested it in camera shops and stuff, and it is quite good. I just think Sony had that edge before. But now, like I said, I wouldn't really worry about any of these systems, to be completely honest with you. I think all of them now are really good, and that includes Fuji. We won't put Panasonic in there because, you know, the contrast detection just isn't good at all. But these three cameras now are very, very usable, and they've got to the point where I would use any of them and feel quite confident in using them. I think the Canon and the Sony now are so close that it's no longer an issue anymore. Very, very close. Like I said, I'll leave this link down below and you can look at the test yourself. But brilliant. Both of them are really good. I still think overall, though, like I said, I still think the Sony lead overall in everything. I'm talking about video autofocus, your normal photography, tracking, you know, the tracking particularly, say, like in the A9, the A7R4, the A7S3 will have it, the ZV-1, the tracking is just like, I haven't seen anything that beats that. But if you're talking about eye autofocus solely, all of them now are very good, and Canon and Sony are basically about neck and neck. Canon have done some really strong work in the last camera update. I know there was an A7, there was a EOS R update that improved the autofocus, and I've discussed that with you before, that they did make a big improvement. But now I think the R5 and the R6 have made a major step. So I just wanted to talk to you about that. Let's go to other news. 40, 50. Now, just in other news, and then I'll come back to Q&A as well. Adobe have added preliminary support for the A7S III. That's early. I'm surprised that they've brought that out. Now, there is a note. I'm not sure what that is. It's just preliminary support, so I'm not quite certain what that means. But they have added preliminary support, and I was really surprised when I saw that. They've also added the Sony ZV-1, the RAW files, so which is good now, because I haven't tried my ZV-1 for photography. I'll have to try it. But it's interesting. So it's great, though, that they've got the A7S preliminary support there already. So I just wanted to mention that as a news story. Market share is the next story. This is quite interesting as well. So the 2019 market share data shows Canon and Sony growing, Nikon is shrinking. So it is still a worry for Nikon. So if you look down at this is a Nikkei Asian review data gathering arm, and it's published the 2019 worldwide market share numbers. And it's basically saying it's got 74 different industries, including digital cameras, etc. Now, it's saying here that depending on what camp you're in, these numbers may not surprise you. According to Nikkei, Canon saw the biggest move. I'm just reading what Jim says there. Adobe says prelim because they probably hope for a free beta testing. Where was I? Yeah. So Canon saw the biggest move, increasing overall market share by 2.5% to a whopping 45.4%. Sony, meanwhile, Sony only saw a small jump, but at least it's a jump. But I'll talk about that in a minute. Because they're saying there that they only saw a 0.9% jump, while Nikon saw a 1.6% drop in market share. So that is quite substantial, which is a worry for Nikon particularly. The top 5 camera companies make up 93.7% of global market share, although camera unit sales dropped by 22.4%. So they are still dropping drastically if you're looking at those camera sales overall, in keeping with similar trends for 2018. So if you look at the individual market trends here, Canon now have 45.4%, and they're up 2.4%. So Canon actually have done really quite well. But remember, they have released multiple cameras. They've got the ESR, they've got the R6, they've got the R5, and things like that. So they've had a lot of releases. Sony have got 20.2%. So they're now number 2 in this marketplace. So they have gone above Nikon, and they're saying that they've got +9. Now, I think this is a great result for Sony, because you think, if you're looking at what Sony have released in cameras, they've got big releases coming up. So the A7S III will be in this. So they'll have the releases for the A7S III. They'll have this A5, which is just about to be announced in September. And then the A7 IV, I think, will be announced before the end of the year as well. So Sony particularly have got a huge chance to gain in market share with the cameras that have been announced. Remember, before this, they haven't really announced many new cameras, you know, like the A7S III or the A7 IV that will be out, and even the A7 V. So, and even the ZV-1, you know, if you're talking about cameras overall, I think you'll probably find the ZV-1 will do quite well for them as well. So I think you'll probably find that Sony will do much better than this in the coming sales. Nikon is a worry, because Nikon have been releasing new cameras and their sales have dropped -1.6. So that's pretty unfortunate that Nikon are doing, well, they're not doing well at all if you look at that. We know that because I've discussed Nikon's results earlier with you guys in other live shows, and it's not looking good for Nikon. It's very, very sad that they've released the new cameras and their sales are still dropping. Fuji basically are holding. So Fuji are doing quite well out of this. So they've only got -0.4%. So they're holding, which seems to be quite good as well. Panasonic is also holding basically steady as well. So I think it's pretty good. I'm just trying to see what it also says here. It says, according to that Digicam or whatever, this is the first time Sony has surpassed Nikon to the number 2 spot. They've done it before, but I think that was only in Japan. So this is the first time they've done it as a overall world type thing. So they're saying Nikon's market share drop is troubling. Actually, it's smaller than the same stat last year in 2018. Nikon share apparently dropped 2.7. So the entry into mirrorless may have helped to slow the bleeding. So even though it's slowed the bleeding, they're still losing. So it's really troubling signs for Nikon. Also, it's saying here too that the last call out from Digi is that Olympus, who was number 5 spot last year, has been surpassed by Panasonic by virtue of Ollie losing market share. And I think, like I said, I think Olympus, even though they've got new cameras just announced, they're previous cameras that would have already been developed. I'm not confident that Olympus will survive. I think the R&D and stuff like that is just not going to be there. The R&D we're seeing now is already coming out, would have been developed a long time ago. So it's a bit of a worry. It really is. All right, so let's go on to the next one, because I wanted to talk about this too. Tamron there's a new patent apparently, and this is bizarre, because if this is for Sony, they're saying that patents, there's a design for a 15 to 30 millimeter f2.8 lens. So where does this leave the 17 to 28? So I'm not sure. And there's not much to talk about yet at this stage. I just wanted to sort of mention that to you, that I don't know where this fits in. So it's a bit of a bizarre focal range. And that's all I wanted to show with that. Last story was Panasonic has also confirmed, well, they're going to confirm a new full-frame camera, the S5. This is going to be their entry-level camera. I'm not going to talk about this much because I'm going to leave the comments down below. But interesting. I thought, wow, okay, so they're also releasing a camera. They're saying basically it is going to be 4K 60 video in 10-bit 420, and then if you want 422, you're going to be 4K 30 video in 422. But I just thought I'd share that Panasonic are also releasing a lower-ended camera as well, which is probably going to compete with, you know, the Sony camera I spoke before, the A5, and also the Nikon Z5 as well. So they're probably putting out a camera that is going there as well. And that's really it. Like I said, there's not much news today, but we can open up Q&A just for a few minutes. It wasn't going to be a long show today. Let me just see what people are saying. Oh, Jim, thank you so much. A Corona for you and your bride. Thank you so much, Jim. All right, so let's see what people are saying. Great, thank goodness I only paid for a cheap capture USB stick. Mark said, Rob, we know what the word initially meant. This is more an extension of expression of a view for... Oh, you're talking to each other, okay. Jeff said, no, A6000, the camera in the most houses is not on the list. Yeah, it wasn't actually. Oh, is there no A6000 on that list? Let me just check. What A761s were there? A6400. There's the A5 100, A6 100. Yeah, there's no A6000 looking at it. Yeah, it seems to go from the A6 100 up. Interesting. Colin said, I use Camera Live for my A7 III with USB-C, full quality, no capture card, into OBS on my Mac. Interesting. And you're happy with that quality, Colin? What else have we got? Langston said Sony Slide Edge can actually use the AF without heat penalty. Yeah, he's talking about the IAF. Prasant said, showing a box on the eye doesn't necessarily mean the eye is in focus. He was taking photos continuously, though, so he did do that, Prasant. He was actually taking photos at the same time. Mark said, eye autofocus is great on the Canon cameras for 5 minutes. Oh, you guys. That's because, yeah, you can only use it for 5 minutes till it overheats. I love it. Carl said, because the A7S III is a hot commodity. Yeah, it certainly is. If you haven't got that on pre-order, it's going to take a while to get, I think. Jim said about that preliminary, because they probably hope for a free beta testing. Raymond said, can't stay but for a moment, but I had to stop in to give my thumbs up. Thank you so much, Ray. Woohoo, getting me the A7S III. How exciting. Just ordered the new Zhiyun Crane S2 as well. Going to be a killer combo. Yeah, it certainly will. Mark said, sadly, this is 219 sales. This year will be, it will be a bad one, because of the virus, that's for sure. It's going to be terrible when we see the sales now, I think. Guys, those numbers are not telling you about the Canon EOS R, RP, R5, R6. Those numbers are about Rebel series, KISS series, etc., the Power Shots and the M50. So you're saying it's not about those cameras, CO. I'm excited about the A5. I might honestly sell my A6 400 if the price is right. They probably sell more 10 EF M cameras for each Sony A7S III. 1.6 drop is not too bad with the pandemic. Yeah, the problem is I'm not sure. Remember, it's 219 sales though, so Carl, it's probably not good. And remember, they already lost a massive amount of sales last year, so it's going down and down, so it's not good. Sony made lots of sales to the Associated Press. Yes, they did, because now they're the camera manufacturer for that, that's for sure. The overall market is down, which means fewer sales for all. Yep. Juicy said, how you going, David? I'm doing very well, Juicy. Thanks for asking. It's 200 to 800 6.5 and not 5.6. Oh, yeah, let me just go back to that, because there was another lens mentioned for that too. The 200 to 800 is a 5.6 lens. I mean, that is really interesting. It's a 5.6 lens. I forgot to mention that. Thanks for mentioning that. There's two lenses that they've mentioned, a 200 to 800 5.6, and then there's also the 15 to 30 2.8. That was the one that I was saying is a strange release if you've already got the 16 to 35. Yeah, I'm not sure about that. 15 may be really good, I suppose, if you wanted a fraction wider, but Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how that compares to, say, the 16 to 28 or the 16 to 35, isn't it? Well, it's 16 to 28. I'm going blank. Let me just go here. There's so many different lenses out. Tamron. It's 17, I think, isn't it? 17. Yeah, 17 to 28. I was going blank. Yeah, so the Tamron is 17 to 28. So this is 15 to 30. So I'm not sure. It's a bit bizarre when they've already got that 17 to 28. I don't know. What do you think? Let me just go back to the live chat. Oh, it's 6.5. It's saying it's 5.6 on there. I'm not sure. Elisa Aaron says, I think the Tamron rumours are for APS-C. Oh, okay. Does it say that? Yeah, it doesn't say. I'm just trying to see if it mentioned it's APS-C. So you think it could be an APS-C lens? Should I buy the A6400 now or wait till the Sony A5 has to be announced? Well, it depends. Look, it just really depends if you'd like APS-C and you want that reach. It's up to you. I mean, if you're not in a hurry, I'd wait and see. I mean, we're only talking, if they're talking mid-September, what are we, 3 weeks away? I'd probably wait and just see what the A5 is before you make a decision. If you're in a hurry, well, then you might have to say, buy whichever one you like. Well, say buy the A6400. If you're not in a hurry, I'll probably wait. Thanks for that donation, Jim. The A6600 was on the list on the bottom left. Yeah, I saw that, but I think he was talking about the A6000 though. I think Sony should start researching and developing V2 versions of their GM glass. Look, I've said that before, Alex. I think you're going to find there's two that come to mind, well, three. There's three lenses that come to mind immediately for me that they should update. The 85 1.4 should definitely be updated. The 70 to 200 should be updated. That's the 2.8 lens. And the 28 to 70 2.8 also should be updated. They're ones that I really think they should bring out a version 2 lens as soon as possible. And it will happen. Remember, all manufacturers bring out version 2 and version 3 of their high-end. Nikon have done it. Canon have done it. So you're going to find that's going to happen as well. Colin said, yes, works well, full HD 1080p streaming, but no sound. Cool. Juicy said, do you think that we'll be back to unlock on the 13th of September? Oh, that's here, yeah. I hope so, because we're on full lockdown here at the moment. I really do hope we're out of it because it's driving me nuts. And for cheaper prices, what's your take on the V2 glass for GM lenses? Well, they probably won't be cheaper, but the thing is that Sony have to sort of answer people like Tamron that are coming out with newer versions, Sigma that are coming out with newer versions. Remember too that you're dealing now with Sigma have said that they're going to release a 70 to 200. You've got the 28, the 24 to 70 as well there. You've got all the amazing Tamron lenses that are out there. The Sony lenses are very high-ended in cost. So, and I think they're probably being out-resolved now with, say, like the Sigma lenses and stuff like that. So they are going to have to either drop their prices or they're going to have to bring out GM versions that have, like, you know, the new linear motors like we have with the 135 and things like that. So they are going to have to think about pricing. They can price them at the higher end if those lenses are that much better, which the versions 2 may be. I mean, I still haven't seen a lens that beats the 135 GM. So, thumbs up, guys. Yes, I'd love it too, guys, if you could give me a thumbs up. It really would be amazing. Hi, Ike. How are you? Joe said, autofocus between the A6600 and the A7RV, is it similar in tracking? Yes, pretty similar. I think it is pretty close. The A9 really has a sort of leap up ahead on the tracking. The A9 definitely has better tracking than what that has. Even the ZV-1 is very, very good in the tracking, but I still don't think it beats my A9. What else? 200 to 800 for APS-C will be an interesting lens. Yeah, that would be an interesting lens. Hopefully I'll be able to get that off Tamron and test it. That would be fantastic. Yeah, 1200 reach would be super, wouldn't it? Altric's here late again. Well, at least you're here, Altric. Sizzleman said the V285 GM needs to be 1.2. Oh, wouldn't that be amazing if they did that? Yeah, that would be incredible. I so hope Sony brings out an 85 1.2 lens. That would be just brilliant. I really do hope that. Too many cheaper lens in the 1.4 range, yeah. I mean, Sigma just brought out one, didn't they, the other day? They don't need to really do a 1.4. That would be amazing. Now, remember, Sony did say that they wanted to produce a fast lens, so that would be the perfect one to do it. An 85 1.2 would be my dream lens. Just don't bring it out now because I can't afford it, and I'd be so tempted to buy it. Someone will soon buy out Nikon, you're saying. Interesting. Richard said, Colin for Mob Films, video photos. Yeah, I noticed no sound from the camera using the webcam app. It also has a slight lag that isn't there with the capture cards. Yeah, you'll always have a slight lag. It can never, ever be as good as using a capture card. And then you also have the problem, I suppose, if you're capturing audio separately, there's the problem. It may, depending on what software you've got, you may have sync problems and things like that as well. Altric saying, guess you will rewatch. If they did a 70 to 200 Mark II, I'd buy that in a heartbeat. They will. It's only a matter of time before they do bring out a new 70 to 200 and a 2470. They're the ones I'm predicting. 70 to 200, 2470, and the 85 are the ones that I'm predicting will be version 2s. Carl said A9 is king. It is. There's nothing can beat the A9. Still my favourite camera ever. Rob said, if those new Tamron patents are for APS-C, then we need to buy a baby A9 for them. I know, how amazing would it be? Does the webcam work with multiple cameras and can you switch between both of them? No, I wouldn't think so, no. I think it'll only work with one. 200 to 800 5.6, shouldn't that be a bit gigantic? Well, it would be pretty small, big, that's for sure. David, what will you sell to get the A7S III, an A7 III? I've got two A7 IIIs, so I'll sell one of those. Kerry has an A7 III and I've got an A7 III. So if I get the A7S III, which I'm more and more thinking I'm probably going to do, I will sell one A7 III. I won't sell the A9, no way will I be selling my A9. The only way I will sell my A9 is when I can get the A9 III. The A9 II, for me, remember I reviewed that for a month. I had that camera for a month and I didn't think it was a massive step up from the A9. Yeah, little bits, but nothing that really made me think that I needed to buy it. So the A9 for me is still the best I can get in that camera range. I'll sell the A9 when the A9 III comes out, which probably will be a bigger update. What else? It says that Langston's telling people to simmer down. There must be a few people going off. Yeah, be nice, guys. Remember, this is a place where you're meant to be nice to each other. What else have we got? Can't wait to see you test the A7S III. Yep, I mean, I'm excited about getting it. Bill said waiting for the A7 IV and the Fuji X-T40. The A7 IV, I think, is going to be an unbelievable camera. If they bring out the A7 IV and it has the same amazing features that the A7 III had at the time, remember when the A7 III came out, no one could believe what that camera had. If they do that with the A7 IV, it is going to be an outstanding camera. It really will. And that's probably what I would sell my other A7 III for sometime next year to get that. But I'm thinking, the way I'm thinking now is to sell one of my A7 IIIs and get the A7S III. What else have we got? Jeff said, I have wanted to switch from full frame from my A6000 for years. As a hobbyist, I could never justify the price. I'm looking forward to the A5, A6. The A9, great AF. Rob said, if you don't have an A9 already, what would you recommend? An A9 at a relatively lower price? Yes, definitely. I would still buy, look, honestly, if I didn't have any of them, I would buy the A9 immediately before I would get the A7R4, the A7R3, the A7 III. I would have the A9. Whenever I shoot, I grab my A9. I still think at the moment it still has a nicer video. It has a nicer look, full frame. It's the sensor, the readout of that sensor. It still has a nicer look in video. I shoot in standard profile anyway, so I would buy the A9 still in a heartbeat. I wouldn't buy the A9 II. No, I would get the A9. It's not enough difference, Rob. Unless you're a sports shooter and you need the networking features that the A9 II has in, I would save the money, get the A9 and buy another lens. Hey David, I have an A6400 and I want an ultra-wide lens for my self-filming and for photos. I find the 10-18 wide lens and Sony 35. I love the 10-18, but my favorite lens is the 16mm Sigma 1.4. That's my favorite lens. I love that on the A6400. In fact, it very rarely comes off. I only really use the 10-18 when I want to go much wider, but for most stuff that I shoot out there, I use the 16, which is what I'm using now. That's a fantastic lens, that Sigma, and it's not very expensive. Here come David with the let's be nice to everyone rainbows and unicorns. Will Tower Jazz make the new sensor for the A7 IV? I don't think so. Sony needs to go GM version 2. They need to show they can compete with the RF at the same price range. Or else I would mostly go Tamron Sigma. I agree. They definitely need to update those lenses. Is it a big update to jump from the A7 III to the... no. It's just, well, it is if you're after resolution, of course, and also focus. I mean, you get the tracking and stuff like that in that camera. It's more about the resolution on that camera. Slightly better... well, definitely, the noise will suffer a little bit. The A7 III definitely has better noise characteristics because it's a lower resolution sensor. It's more the fact that you're going to get a much higher resolution sensor. Altric said I would get the A9. I agree, totally. I wouldn't buy the A9 II. I'd just get the A9. It's good enough. And then obviously get the A9 III whenever that comes out. Sony talk female photographer. Yeah, no, I didn't talk about that. I know Sony were after female photographers for something. So I know that was sort of something that was going on. Not a big fan of all that sort of stuff, Mark. I just think everything should be on merit, but that's me. But that's probably why I didn't talk about it. But yeah, I mean, it's probably good that they're trying to get females to produce their work. Miak said, A9's AF is nice. Too bad the colours aren't. I love the colours on that camera, Ike. What else have we got? You are neither... Oh, okay, they're just talking about it. What else have we got? CJ64 Film said, bro, what is wrong with y'all? We're all quite happy here, I think. Skin tones, I think, are pretty good. I did a test between that and the Canon Ike, and it was pretty good. Never had anyone complain about the color tones from the A9. Strong feelings about Nikon and Sony, apparently. Lanx is talking about someone else. Mick said, agree 100% on the A9 II. I have tried it and do wildlife, nature, and the improvement is not worth it. Only advantages for press people. Yeah, if you need, like I said, if you need that networking feature, it's a massive improvement. If you don't need the networking on the A9 II, I would get the A9 for sure. Mark said there is a grant for Sony females, great incentive. Yeah, they were offering money, weren't they? I think as a competition or something like that, Mark. Ike said David always reads the comments in context. Did I read it out? Did I? Sorry, Ike, if I read it wrong. Merit for sure. Check out Peak Design, Going Woke, SMH. I just upgraded from the A7 III to the A7R III for $26. Wow, that's fantastic. So my question was more of a hypothetical. Okay. Makes me sound like a hater, Ike said. Colin said, September is going to be a really slow month waiting for the A7S III. I know. What is it, the end of September? I think here in Australia they're talking about early October, so it's even worse if you're from Australia. When I'm just preaching the gospel, Ike said, Ike's going off today. I love it. And that's it. We've reached the end of the chat. Now, stay tuned for a couple of things. I've got a couple of great things to review. I've got an amazing tripod head, which is a mechanical one. I'm going to review that in the coming days, so stay tuned for that. I've used the wide angle lens, that fisheye lens. I did a couple of shots yesterday, so I'm going to review that soon. And I've also got another amazing motorized gimbal that I'm going to review for you guys too, that I've been playing with as well. So I've got some incredible stuff, great reviews coming up in the coming days. So apart from that, guys, I think we've reached the end of the stream. I'm going to go and get a coffee. Like I said, it was a pretty quiet news day today. If you have any questions, leave them down below, because I do always get back to you. Obviously, I'd love it if you can give me a thumbs up as well. Apart from that, guys, I think that's the end of the show. So thanks so much. I'll be back with Aaron on next Tuesday, US time, Wednesday, Melbourne time. Apart from that, everyone, have a fantastic weekend, and I'll see you all soon. Bye for now, everyone.